Americans for Truth Live. My name is Mike Heath, and I'm the co-host of the program, and our host, Peter LaBarbera, is not able to be with us because I think he's probably over 30,000 feet in altitude, unable to connect. You know, in this world of high-tech internet technology, you can connect from almost anywhere, but we still can't connect from a jet that's flying at 400 miles per hour. But don't worry about it. They're working on it. It's going to come next. I want to open the show today with a scripture from Isaiah the prophet, chapter 40, verse 28. Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. And that's the God that Christians worship. And Bill Whatcott is with us. This is his fifth day with us this week. Bill, I get a lot of comfort and hope from a verse like that.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate the conversations that you and Peter have had Monday through Thursday. And I'm looking forward to getting your views, your opinion on some things, some ideas, some happenings during today's show. We're also joined by Jeff Nell. He's out in Nevada. He's been started joining us on the show this week. And if you're viewing the archive version of the show, you can join us. Just go to the website and go to the contact form and let us know that you would like to be on the show, and we'll make sure that you're added to the email list and that you get a notice that with a link that enables you to join in, and then you can participate on Americans for Truth Live. So as I was preparing for today's show, I got an email from my wife regarding the latest ridiculous censorship that happened, and it was done by not Facebook and not Google this time, but by Amazon. Before I get to that, I want Jared to put up a image of my lovely bride of 36 years. She's on the screen right there, Polly Heath. She's a Christian musician and has produced 7 musical CDs, written dozens of original Christian songs, and about 15 years ago attempted to make her music available using the Amazon platform. This was way back when Amazon was first started. And so she created a channel, a place where she could put her CDs and put a picture of herself and, you know, whatever they allowed on the platform to describe what it is we were selling. And one of the first or earliest comments came from this guy, Adam Flanders. And Jared, go ahead and throw up that picture. And this was the image that Adam Flanders, then a teenager, now I would guess he's close to 30. This was the image that he photoshopped and uploaded to that Amazon page. And remember, this was new Amazon. It was kind of scary to me, a little bit like, what does this mean? How much control do we have? I mean, at that point, I had been almost 20 years in this, in standing up as a Christian and saying that homosexuality is a sin and that we ought not to be passing laws that are going to encourage people to think of it as benign or as somehow good or as an option that people should choose. I had been arguing against that for 20 years, and I had, of course, developed a fairly long enemies list. Bill, I know you can identify with that. And so I was nervous about my wife going on Amazon. You know, there she is. She's beautiful, and she's a dear Christian woman. She's the love of my life. I wouldn't, you know, I don't know where I'd be without Polly. She's so dear to me. There's only one other person that's more dear, and that's Jesus Christ. And so when this image appeared, my emotions, I wanted to hurt somebody. I wanted to hurt Bill. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it was visceral. My reaction to this image was, it was beyond words. It was violent. I had violent emotions, violent feelings. You know, Bill, I'm not saying that I want to kill people, but do you know what I mean?
To be honest, I got a really thick skin. I remember when I ran for mayor of Edmonton, they photoshopped me, and I was wearing my T-shirt that says "Sodomites will not inherit the kingdom of heaven." And they left that top part on, and then they put like a mini skirt on me and spandex leotards, and put me on a lamp pole like a hooker, and put a little headline over it: "Don't vote for Bill." And when I looked at it, I thought I must be doing something right. So honestly, when these homosexuals do something like that, I kind of look at the source, and I don't take it very personal. But that's only me.
And
Yeah.
I agree with you about myself, because at this point, that had happened to me. You know, I had been the subject of political cartoons like that, and I just never even paid attention to them. But this was different for me. This is my wife. This was the love of my life turned into Satan and stuck up on Amazon, and I really didn't know how to respond. So I wanted to say that, and then I wanted to show you this. This is from Amazon, and this, go ahead and throw up that email. I'm just going to read this. This happened today, folks. This is this hope. I'm just going to read this. This is my wife's words. Dear friends, Amazon allowed a hateful, vitriolic criticism of not only my music from a radical activist, but a scathing criticism of my husband and his character, which has nothing to do with my music CDs. Thankfully, they did take down the review after a while. Now they reject a friend's positive review of this wonderful book promoting Mary Pride's pro-family, pro-Christian book, The Way Home. And the full title of the book is The Way Home, Beyond Feminism, Back to Reality by Mary Pride. And then scrolling on down, so this review was submitted yesterday to Amazon of the book, The Way Home. And Amazon said, you can't publish this. And they were very vague.
Why?
Exactly. They were very vague in why. They said the guidelines. Of course, I didn't even click through the guidelines, because you know the guidelines are written by lawyers, so who in the world can understand them?
But even a guideline, I don't see how it could capture this. This is a fine review.
Yeah, and so I want to read the review, because this is amazing that they would.
Yeah, I'm reading it, and it's fine.
It's amazing that they would. I don't get it. I mean,
as long as it's a real review, and
yeah, what I don't get the censorship bill. I don't get it. So here's the large family is a blessing. Before knowing this book, my wife and I intended to have no more than one or two children. We understood the Bible teaches children are a blessing. The more, the better. No one explains better this forgotten Bible principle than Mary Pride. Today we have 7 children, counting the blessings. A large family makes you see family as a ministry. And actually, it's an excellent training for ministry in the church. If you have educated them well in the Lord anyway, you will always have a ministry at home. We praise Jesus for Mary Pride and her Christian commitment and steadfastness to defend family the way God intended it to be. Bill, Jeff, help me. I don't.
They just have to really like depopulation, and decided that no view that challenges that is allowed. So, I doubt that this review would violate their own standards.
Yeah. So maybe it got caught by the algorithm, but then if it got
that'd have to be it. I can't even see a leftist banning this review with a straight face on Amazon.
But how could that would mean, Bill, that the algorithm has been coded to catch what?
Conservative speech, Christian speech.
I mean, really broadly defined, right? I mean, there's
carefully reviewing. That wouldn't be an algorithm, you would think.
That's what I don't get. I mean, what are the buzzwords in this that an algorithm would pick up? It just doesn't make any sense to me, this one. It doesn't.
Was this an instantaneous block, or was this up and then taken down?
No, this was instant. As far as
it was caught by an algorithm, and then they have the audacity to say that's careful.
So the censorship, folks, is just gone off the rails. And if you haven't joined us for the earlier shows this week when Peter interviewed Bill Whatcott, I really want to strongly recommend that you go to the archive and listen to those shows. They're really important historic shows, because Bill is a living historic figure. I mean, he's doing such incredible work. It's like, I think, Bill, don't take any offense, but it's like you should be dead or something. You should be like one of these guys we read about from who have given their lives or something. And in a way, you have. You said yesterday that you spent a combined total now for your speaking out in defense of babies and against sodomy, a year in jail. Isn't that what you said yesterday, you think?
Yeah, it probably comes out to about that since the 90s.
And you're facing now 2 years, right? 2 years of jail time. And what is the likelihood that the court is going to hand down that sentence? And when would they do it if they do it?
Well, the judicial pretrial is March 19th, so we'll probably have our trial date set then. It seems that the thinking of my legal team is the trial will likely be around August or somewhere around there of this year. We believe, and I believe, that I didn't break Section 319 of the Canadian Criminal Code, which is the willful promotion of hatred. Like, I look at my flyer, I got post-secondary education. I've written a book. I got a pretty good grasp of the English language. And notwithstanding that I'm obviously biased in favor of myself, I look at my flyer upside down and sideways, and I don't see how it violates Section 319. Section 319, in my reading of it, would be something like saying all Jews should be killed. Or, if you start up a radio station advocating the genocide of the Tutsis, like, say, in Rwanda. That would seem to be what the hate speech is the hate speech that is supposed to be restricted. Sadly, in Canada, we are using these sections of the criminal code just to criminalize speech, that is controversial. And because the judges are political, some of the advice that I'm getting from Christian lawyers is don't even bother appealing it when you're convicted, because you'll just make the president worse. So there's not a lot of optimism that I'm going to be acquitted. And it isn't that we don't have a good legal defense. We do. The problem is that we have judicial activists for the homosexual cause on the bench. That's the problem. And that's a problem in the Ontario Superior Court where I am. It's the problem in the Ontario Court of Appeals where I would go. And our Supreme Court makes your Supreme Court look really, really, really conservative. Our Supreme Court is all Sotomayor and Kagan, and probably worse than Kagan.
So I want to understand the timing here. You're thinking that you're going to go to trial in August. When would be the earliest that they would put you in jail?
Oh, as soon as I'm convicted.
Okay, so it would be August.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I would assume that you are dedicated to carrying this all the way to the end, right?
Even if I wanted to get off the wagon now, it's a little late.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but no, I don't have any intentions of saying sorry or asking for leniency. And the last time when I was in jail for 6 months, they did give me the option to walk out on the 21st day if I would say sorry and promise not to pick at abortion clinics anymore. And I opted to, stay in jail.
So
I imagine I'll do the same this time.
So now until the end of the summer will be the legal stuff, and you'll be free, and you'll continue to do your work as the Holy Spirit leads you. And then,
well, not really. I got bail conditions, although I did say I'd stay in jail rather than they tried to prevent me from saying anything on homosexuality, which literally would capture this interview that you and I are doing. And I said that's surrendering the narrative to the other side, and I can't accept it. So anyways, the Crown, it wasn't even the Crown. The Crown was adamant that I not be allowed to say anything about homosexuality publicly for the duration of my bail. But the judge relented. I'm not allowed to post the flyer, which that doesn't matter. Mass Resistance has my flyer up on their website anyways. But yeah. So I'm at least allowed to speak. But they took my passport. I really can't get a job because my security clearance has, this outstanding charge on it. So, you're kind of in limbo until the trial's over. I'd rather like to have the trial over and get on with it.
So it's really important, Bill, that viewers and listeners to the show, go to your funding page, give the details of that funding page. And I want to challenge you, if you're watching this show right now, not just to pray, but to act and to make a contribution to Bill. He's on a new platform, or I don't know if it's new, but he's on a platform which unlike GoFundMe and PayPal and some of these others, is not practicing censorship. If Bill Whatcott can be on a platform and receive funding, and Bill, I think the last I saw you, people had given up to around $40,000 on this platform to help you out.
Yeah, over the year. Of course, a lot of that went to a lawyer too.
Sure.
But yeah, for the last 6 months, we would not have been able to survive without this.
So I want to challenge you to support Bill with your money, to make a contribution. It's the least you can do if you're a Christian and you look at this issue and you're thinking about tampon machines being added to your little grandson's public school restroom.
I know, horrible.
Being forced there by politicians who actually believe that boys can menstruate. I mean, the nonsense factor is beyond Orwellian now. Jared and I were joking, my son and I were joking about it yesterday. George Orwell, the author of 1984, could not have imagined this. I mean, this is beyond absurd.
Do you think these politicians really believe that, or are they just sowing social discord? Like,
it's got to be the latter, right?
It has to be. Yeah, because it's clear men don't menstruate, even if they cut it off and put on a dress.
It's ridiculous. So I want to stick with this, Bill. Tell the viewers and the listeners where they can go to make a contribution to help.
Yeah, I guess if you go to Go Get Funding, then you see a little search engine at the top, and you put in my last name, Whatcott, WHATCOTT. You'll find this one here, Ontario Government / Anti-Christian Persecution of the Whatcott Family. It's actually my wife that set it up, but we all benefit from it. And we have sent a few $1,000s to our lawyer from it for different legal cases. There's a couple other smaller ones that I set up, but they're not going anywhere, and we're not really using them. So this is probably the one, if you wish to support our cause, that you can.
So folks can go to give it again. What's the name of it?
Go Get Funding. And if you're going to do a fundraiser, anyone, I highly recommend them. They're not at all hostile to Christians. Gay activists have contacted them in an attempt to get my fundraiser taken down in the days after I got out of jail and when I was in jail. And they refused to take it down. My wife didn't know about GoFundMe's bigotry, and she did put a fundraiser up there, the identical one. If you read this one, that is what we had on GoFundMe, which there is no attack on homosexuals here at all. And GoFundMe took it down, I think, within the first day, and then sent her an email that she was banned for life.
So Go Get Funding, was that it?
That's it.
GoGetFunding.com. You probably just go in there and search on Bill Whatcott, and it'll come right up, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And make a contribution to support Bill. Do your part. Say a prayer for Bill and his family. And I want to keep walking this through, Bill. So August comes, worst case, they take you out of the back door of the courtroom and they take you right to jail. Is that right? Worst case. And then, and the earliest that would happen is August. And you're,
well, it might be July. It depends on when I get my trial date.
Okay.
It'll be somewhere around there.
And then you're going to appeal it? There's an appeal?
Probably not. I don't think so. I think they like it when we appeal stuff. It costs us a lot of money. Like, $40,000 looks like a lot of money, but my legal bill is north of $200,000. So, that's where it's at. To appeal, you're running $400 an hour with these lawyers. It gets very technical, very complicated. It's a tremendous amount of money for Christians to give, and you're going in front of a gay activist judge. The odds are that I'll lose, and then a bad situation in the Superior Court is now a bad situation in the Court of Appeal, which applies to the whole country. The last hate speech conviction, I fought it all the way to the Supreme Court in 2013. I got the decision. I guess I was before the Supreme Court in 2011. And it cost like $500,000 to get there. And in the end, they simply ruled truth is not a defense. It's called the Whatcott decision. You put in your search engine, Walcott decision, you'll pull it up. The truth is not a defense. Truthful statements need not escape censorship. With that, I lost. And yeah, right there, Saskatchewan Human Rights Commission versus Walcott. It's a terrible ruling. And I spent a ton of money to get that ruling. It was a gift to the gay activists. So I don't think I would make that mistake again. I have no confidence. I have no confidence at all in the judges to be impartial.
So come July, there's a chance that you will be in jail for 2 years. Do you think they'll put you there for 2 years?
It could go up to that. Nobody thought I was going to get 6 months for praying in front of an abortion clinic, and I did. I'm going to guess, often in Canada, you get out with good behavior. Probably I'm not going to get the maximum, though it's possible. I'm going to guess I'm going to be sitting there, and I'm only guessing. I'm going to be sitting there somewhere from between 6 to 18 months. I doubt I'll be there all 2 years.
And this is precisely what they want. This is why they're doing it. We're talking about this, and you're viewing this or listening to this show, and you're asking yourself, you know, could I do that? Should I do that? And you feel like, yes, the principle's worth it. The principle's worth maybe dying for, but it sets up a bunch of conflict in people's minds, doesn't it, Bill? The whole point of what they're doing to you is to intimidate good people, right?
Yeah, they know I'm pretty incorrigible. Like they've already took a house, they've already took my nursing career, they've already thrown me in jail 20 times. So they kind of know with me that I won't likely break. But no, it does. Like the $104 million lawsuit, it scared a pile of people. There's like about a dozen Christians that I used to talk to that I don't talk to anymore because they're just afraid of being added to the lawsuit. So yeah, that's their plan, is they take one person out, and that does have the effect, because Canadians are not a brave lot and the Christian church is timid. It has the effect of silencing the rest. Yeah.
And so how should the Christian think about this as they read their Bible and they see that Paul the Apostle went to jail, and they see that you're being sent to jail, and they take the time to read your flyer, and they take the time to realize that the arguments that you make are rooted in not only an awareness of the medical facts regarding homosexuality and transgendering, but also what the Bible teaches about the morality of sex outside of marriage. And they find themselves, you know, what do they do? What do we do?
In a perfect world, if you had any Canadians listening to this, I wouldn't mind if they downloaded my flyers, which could be done, you know, and distribute a few anonymously themselves. I don't know that every Christian needs to go out there and put a target on their back the way I did. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I do wish that Canadians were a little more American, and that we would have a mass movement of civil disobedience against this Marxism that has corrupted our courts and our education system. I think a case could be made for civil disobedience against this oppression. It's terrible. But realistically, sorry, go ahead.
Bill, that's a good segue to Jeff. Jeff, you're still on, right? You listening?
Yeah, I'm here.
You're a street preacher in America, and I've noticed in my lifetime a growing resistance, even among Christians, to street preaching. We're getting close to being like Canada, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
And
oh dear, don't be telling me that.
Well, it's a pattern is going that way. I see the exact persuasion to the government, indoctrination, and to create that atmosphere. When I'm on the street there, brother, and when I expound on sin in that category, it's militant, intolerant. I'm looking at from children from preschool all the way up through college, up to the doctorate of the total indoctrination of the Marxist movement.
So when you're out there preaching, Jeff, in public, on a college campus, on a street corner, how many pastors elders, deacons, priests come up and identify themselves to you and support you in what you're doing?
Zero.
Oh,
Zero.
gosh,
Zero.
John the Baptist was a street preacher, and so was St. Paul.
And I want to emphasize that point, viewers and listeners. This is a firsthand report from the streets of America, Western America, Nevada. Jeff, how long have you been doing this? 2 years.
Look, this is my 4th year.
And I just asked you how many pastors, priests, elders, deacons came up and identified themselves to you and said, "Attaboy," patted you on the back and said, "Thank you for preaching the gospel outside of the church on this street corner and letting people know what the Bible says." And you said zero.
Absolutely.
Zero. What do you think of that? What do you think of that, Bill? That's America.
That is very, very disappointing, because some of our finest, Jonathan Edwards, he was an American and a visceral preacher. And of course, biblically, you look at St. Peter, you look at St. Paul, you look at John the Baptist. They all invited themselves to the public square, and that is where they preached. It's kind of sad. I guess I can see why in America that's happening. Your public schools are almost identical to ours in terms of the Marxist indoctrination, and that probably creates a hostility in the young minds against public displays of Christianity. How to combat that is a good question.
And I think one way we combat it is Peter is speaking at God's Voice conference. This is a reaction, this conference. This is a reaction to another conference.
Mm-hmm.
Help me, Jeff and Bill. What was the name of that? Revoice. Revoice was the name of the conference that was held this summer. And it was a conference aimed at the heart of the conservative evangelical American group in our country. It was aimed at the only remaining resistance, really, that has any institutional weight to it. That conference, Revoice, was aimed at the theological heart of the only remaining institutional resistance to the approval of homosexuality in law, culture, and religion in the United States of America. And I know for a fact from talking to conference organizers that this conference has no big name headliners. Franklin Graham isn't going to be there.
I really liked Franklin Graham when he came to Canada, and everybody was hating on him on our radio stations. There was actually a lady, what the heck is her name? Linda Steele. She was a very outspoken opponent of mine. She was trashing me on the air with this homosexual co-host of hers. Drex is his name. They actually called for Franklin Graham to be criminally prosecuted when he arrived in Canada, and they were not joking.
I am very thankful for Franklin Graham.
He has to be doing something good if they wanted him in jail.
When I mention his name in a relationship to the God's Voice conference, the point I'm making has less to do with Franklin Graham himself and his ministry than the fact that there's no headliners who are part of this God's Voice conference. Whereas this Revoice conference, there was some people very close to Albert Mohler, some pretty serious heavyweight thinkers were gravitating toward this Revoice conference, and I'm not seeing the same kind of sort of intellectual gravity showing up around this God's Voice conference.
There's very few PhDs that want to preach on the street, unfortunately.
Right, and so we're looking at a pretty desperate situation in America, Canada, and all of the West, because Christianity, broadly defined, has allowed itself to, in the popular mind, to become nothing more than a superstition in the minds of the average member of the public, even in the folks who go to church. I mean, Christianity is purely personal. It's good for personal morality. It's good for healing. It's good in the arena of psychology. But step into politics, law, sociology, geology, science, anything, and religion is nothing. Christianity, I'm sorry, is nothing more than a superstition. And Bill, the time went away. Let me say, to Bill Whatcott, and thank you, Bill, for this week of shows. And I'm going to be asking Peter to have you on again real soon. Would you be available for that?
Yeah, let me know a little bit in advance, and we'll see what God does.
And Jeff, thank you for being on Americans for Truth Live today and giving us your opinion. I think you had the mic drop moment when you said 0 in response to the number of pastors, priests, elders, or deacons who have approached you and given you an attaboy when you've been preaching the gospel on the streets of Nevada. So, Jeff, thanks for being on the show. And if you're watching the archive or you're watching today, go to americansfortruth.com, americansfortruth.com. There's a blue donate button on the right. Click that button and make a donation to Americans for Truth. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, and God bless you.